Hello and welcome to Steve Walker Guitars. It's snowing outside, it's freezing. I forgot to put the power on earlier for my workshop, so the heater hasn't been on and it's freezing. So this is going to be quick. This is for the video is to do with the neck that I glued up in the last video. So this is how it's turned out. Very pleased with that. As you can see, it's dried. It's had a couple of days, so it should have dried. Right, I'm going to cut these off in a minute. Don't know if you can see it. There's a slight raise there, which is what I was expecting. I needed to take out enough of the where the truss rod channel was routed originally in the headstock piece, but that'll disappear, and it will, if there's a slight gap there, it will be buried under the fretboard, and it's not deep enough that when I profile the back of the neck it's not going to affect it, so that's okay. Just thought I'd show you this quickly while I'm doing it, while I'm setting it up. This is another jig that I'd made really for taking down the thickness of pretty much anything really. You can attach a fretboard if you need to thin it a little bit. You can masking tape and super glue or double-sided stick tape, whichever you prefer. You can get that down there, put a centre line on it so things can be lined up. There's lots of notches and different things that I've done along the way for different necks. I've done work on Washburn N4 necks with the Stevens extended cutaway. That's Stephen Davies, not mine, unfortunately. But yeah, there's pieces cut out for angled headstocks so that I can still get the main part of the neck in if I've had to do any work on that. It works for a truss rod channel as well. I've got another piece like this that's raised that fits along this edge, and that's basically the width of my router base, and the router bit sits in the centre. So as long as my neck's lined up, I can run a 6mm router bit down the centre, and this keeps it square. And it will work on whether it be like a Fender style straight through piece or with the angled headstock. It works on that as well. And this piece on the bottom basically clamps in to a workmate bench top, and it overhangs each end, so if there is a need for a clamp at all, there's still space underneath. It holds it sturdy. Obviously you can put your feet on it or your foot on it just to steady it. I need to tighten the bench up a little bit actually because it's an old one. But what I have found with this piece, although the headstock fits in, because I haven't cut the waist off the neck blank yet, it's not quite wide enough for that. So what I'm going to do before I actually get to work on this, I'm going to trim most of the waist off the neck. I know roughly where it's going to be. I've got the pencil lines on, so excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and trim that down now so I can get it in. Okay, so I've cut the neck down, the waist off it, and I've put a mark here as to where the end of the neck is going to sit once it's in there. So I can feel that the edge where the angle of the head starts is just at the edge of the base of this. I'll put a mark there just so I know where to run my tape to. Tape down this side. Keep the knife to hand because that's going to burnish down tape. Line out all the creases that I've just put in. Maybe add a few more. You may have noticed a couple of extra pieces have suddenly appeared on this. These are just something that I made or cut down. I didn't make the wood itself, obviously. There's a couple of extra pieces I made just so that it overhangs the headstock better. Countersunk the holes. They're in sturdy. They sit level. They're both the same thickness. This is the same height. It's all square. So I've added these just while the glue's drying, and then the idea is to use top bearing guide router bit, sink the router so that the edge of this is just barely sitting flush with the surface you want to plane to, and then once this is in place, you can run this across the hole. It's not going to move now because that's a little bit deeper, but when it's running I'll be able to move it backwards and forwards over and level the face of the part of the headstock is slightly higher. That will be flush with this, and it'll just leave a little bit to maybe sand down afterwards. But at least that way it's safe. There you go. Right, as you can see, needs a little bit of sanding. It's nothing major. Left a little bit, so it's a fraction of a millimetre proud, but that'll all sand out, so I'm going to do that now. Now I've done that with the neck, I need to thin the headstock. It's 20mm thick. I've put a line on, as you can see, and that reduces it, will reduce it to 14mm. Now I could put this through the bandsaw, but my bandsaw is getting a little bit tired, I think, and I'm going to be getting a new, bigger bandsaw very soon. But I'm going to use my jig for this. I've found in the past when I've used this jig and this way of doing it, I've ended up with less sanding work to do, and it's done it a bit quicker than it would on the bandsaw. That's how it works for me anyway, so might as well make the most of the tools I've got. So I'm going to use the jig in the same way, but instead of sticking the neck down like this, obviously because it's an angle, I need to stick this piece to the board. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to masking tape this and super glue this down, and then in the same way that I did this piece, I'm going to run the router across this surface and reduce it down. I've got the marks on the edge. really, so that I can see. So I've got a visual guide as I'm working. I'm not going to do it in one go, purely because I don't want to put the router under too much stress. So 2 or 3 passes and it will be down to thickness. When I say passes, I don't mean lengthways, I mean in depth. So I'll take it down a couple of mil first, all over, then I'll lower the router again, do the same again, and then maybe a third time, just to get it down to the 14 mil. And then just again a little bit of sanding, and it's done. And that will then bring us to, sorry, the light's really bad, to this first line here. And I've roughly pencil lined the headstock on, just to make sure I've got enough material here for the headstock. It's a bit silly doing it after I'd actually attached the head, I know, but I knew I'd roughly got it. But I wanted to make sure that where the nut was going to sit, I wanted to make sure that was going to give me enough room for the fretboard afterwards. So here we go. So that's the headstock thinned. As you can see, it's giving me a nice smooth surface. Needs a little bit of sanding. Coming a little bit shy of the pencil line I originally put in. You probably can't see it on this. I can just see it down the edge and across there. The reason for that is for the finishing sanding, getting nice and smooth. There's going to be some sanding, but it's not going to be excessive. But I wanted to make sure I've got enough material left so that I'm not losing too much thickness from the headstock. In the next video, I'm going to be sorting out the truss rod channel. It was originally, as I said before, routed for a different style of neck. It wasn't going to have the scarf joint, so there is some alteration work there, but it's not going to be anything severe, and it'll be fine once it's done. So that will be part of the next video, and then also the shaping of the neck, that will be done as well, getting it ready then for whatever fretboard I end up using. It'll be ready for that to be fitted. So all that's to come. If this video has been helpful, give us the thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Always try to answer the comments below, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Always welcome here, and then also click the bell, because then you'll know when there's the next videos out. This is part of the Use What You Got challenge, as you may be aware, if the title didn't give it away. And this challenge includes lots of other builders. There's some amazing builders doing some great videos. The guitars are really good. I'm enjoying watching their videos, and as much as I'm enjoying making these. So this is one I hope, like I say, has been helpful. It's shown one of my other jigs that I use in a couple of different ways. And if you've got any questions about it, feel free to ask, leave me a comment. Like I say, I always try to get back to the comments, so I'll do my best to answer if I can. If it's something if there's something else that you'd like to see, perhaps in a bit more depth in another video, let me know that as well, and I'll see what I can do. I do build guitars. It's my business, and I do custom guitars. If you've got a guitar you want building, if you've got an idea and you want to talk it through, if it's something you want me to build, links to my socials are below. You can message me through one of them. Instagram is probably the best one, and you'll also see photos of my other work on there, but there's also my Facebook page if you're interested. So if that's something you use more, get in touch with me through that. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. It's been a big help. I always appreciate the support that you give me. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.